Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I'm going to do what I was going to say in the last video, and I'm going to just kind of go over some venomous snake keeping and just general snake keeping advice, tips and tricks, things like that, and just kind of put my 2 cents into this whole community aspect thing here. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around here. I'm going to go over how I keep my snakes, some of the techniques I use, some advice that I have for people. I'm going to talk about some information that I agree with and some information that I don't agree with that's out in the hobby today. So yeah, please stick around for the video and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. I just need to take a drink of my coffee. So in today's video, we're going to talk about some advice and some techniques and some just ways I do things. So the first thing I'm going to get into here is, this is mainly going to be directed towards venomous snake keeping. However, I do keep non-venomous snakes here as well. So this is all, everything I'm saying about venomous snakes is 100%, 1000% applicable to non-venomous snakes. I'm just mainly focusing on the venomous side because that's where there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of just, I don't know, there's just a lot of egos and a lot of personalities, and there's just a lot of crazy stuff that's always said. So I just want to go ahead and put my 2 cents in there. But yeah, this is all applicable for non-venomous snakes as well. So anyways, the first thing I kind of wanted to get into here is the question that we always see in these like venomous Facebook groups, which are toxic as hell, by the way. Like, anyways, everybody's a know-it-all there, and everybody just wants to bash each other, which that's not the entire venomous community, so I don't want to put a negative light on everybody. But for some reason, ever since COVID happened, there's all these what we like to call COVID keepers that kind of just popped up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're experts and they're doing crazy shit on the internet. And anyways, the question I wanted to answer is, what's a good first venomous snake? Now, the most common answers that you'll hear from people when this question is asked is they'll be like, find a mentor and get 1,000 hours of experience with that animal. Well, in theory, that's really good, right? That is a pretty good answer, and in theory, that would be great. The thing is, the venomous community is very tight-knit, very small, and a lot of the people in there have a lot of social issues, some mental issues. There's a lot of social anxiety. There's a lot of just people with some issues going on, and we're not really the most inviting to new people. A lot of people aren't. You ask about a snake, and go to an expo and you see a venomous snake and you ask about it, and it's kind of, because I've seen it, people kind of just like give you the stank eye and don't really want to say too much about it. I've seen that happen. So that's one common answer. So it's a good answer, but I also don't think it's a very practical answer for a lot of people. Now, obviously, if you can do your research and you can find a mentor to teach you techniques, then do that. 100% do that. That is probably the best way to go about it. However, that's not what this video is about. This video is going to be for the 90% of other people who don't do that and are looking to they're just going to go out and buy a snake. If they don't have any solid advice, they're just going to go buy it anyways. So this video is geared towards those people because I want to make sure that there's a video out there that gives you some advice so you're not going into it blind. Because the worst thing you can do is just make a decision when you're not informed at all. So that's the purpose of this. That's one answer, right? Find a mentor, work with the species that you want to work with. and go from there. The next answer that's really common is get a species like this timber rattlesnake here that is from your region where there is regular antivenom available. So here in the United States, that would be a timber rattlesnake. And then also, that this, along with that answer, it's kind of go for something that's not super toxic, like this copperhead. This copperhead probably won't kill you. However, this thing can rot your finger off. There's plenty of people with pictures to prove it. So that answer of, oh, just get a copperhead, they won't kill you because it's from North America. I don't like that answer because that kind of puts it in somebody's head that this animal isn't a dangerous animal and they can just be careless with it. And that's not the case, because you'll lose a finger. If you're careless with it, you'll lose a finger, right? It's probably, I don't know the actual LD values and all that, but it's probably the least toxic snake in the United States, right? Like, you're not going to die from this snake unless you're allergic or a kid or you're old. You're probably not going to die from that snake. I know people that have been bit by a copperhead and not even gone to the hospital. So anyways, there's that. There's that answer of get something from your region, right? Which, all right, I can see that. That's cool. That's smart. You get something from your region. It's got anti-venom there. But here's the thing. What if you are in the United States and you're like most beginner venomous keepers and you like cobras? You want a cobra. Well, there are no cobras endemic to North or South America other than the false water cobra, but it's not a true cobra. It's not actually really a cobra at all. So what if you like cobras and that's really all you like, but there's no cobras here? Okay, so you go get a copperhead. All right, yeah, they said go get a copperhead. So I'll get a copperhead so I can, get my fundamentals down so that way I can get a cobra. But you're not passionate about copperheads. So what happens when you get something or you do something that you're not passionate about? Well, the answer to that question is people get lazy. They start neglecting the thing. It's just like people that get puppies on Christmas Day. Oh, they get puppies as a present on Christmas Day, but they're not ready for a puppy. They're not ready to commit to a puppy. They don't want that kind of a puppy, and so then that animal gets neglected. So if you want cobras, but you get a copperhead because that's what you're told that you should do, but you really don't like copperheads at all, and they don't do anything for you, you're going to lose interest in that thing really fast, which, that could be a good thing. Not everybody needs to be keeping venomous snakes, but that's also not what this video is about. So you're going to lose interest in keeping the copperhead, and then you're going to start to neglect it, and then the animal is going to suffer because of that. And then what's going to happen is a few months later, you're going to get rid of the copperhead, or you're going to let it go, or it's going to die, all because you have no interest in keeping copperheads to begin with. So then here's my answer. When people say, oh, what is the best first venomous snake? I want to get into keeping venomous snakes. Which species should I get? I tell people to get the species that you want to work with. Get the species that you love and that you want to work with, and get it, and try to get one that's a baby. That's, it doesn't need a big enclosure. It doesn't need big hooks. It doesn't need big tools. And make sure that you do your research on the animal, right? Obviously, like I think this is a no-brainer. Do your research on the animal. And when I say research on the animal, I don't mean go to a Facebook group and ask, oh, how do you keep this animal? Give me the info, and then just listen to whatever people say on there. I'm saying do your research, watch YouTube videos on the species, go to websites, Google it, and don't take your information from one site. Take your information from 30 sites. Don't watch one video. Watch every single video you can possibly find on that species. Don't listen to one person on a Facebook group or an Instagram channel. Find everybody that keeps them that you can possibly find and just pick their brain. Ask them questions and go into it with an open mind, knowing that a lot of the people you're going to talk to are not going to want to tell you information because they don't want to be liable for giving you information if you're a newbie and you're going to get hurt. So my answer is you get the species that you want to work with. Now, this is going to be controversial, and that's fine because this is my channel and this is my opinion, and I'm going to give my reasons for it. So if you want to keep gaboon vipers, don't buy a cobra or don't buy a copperhead. If you want to keep gaboon vipers, buy a baby gaboon viper, because that's what is going to keep your interest. That's what you're passionate about. And just know that, like anything else in the world, you have to do your research. You have to know how toxic that animal is. You have to know their temperament. You have to know their husbandry requirements. You have to know all these things before you get one, right? So don't go to an expo and just buy a snake and then do your research. Do your research first and then get the species that you want to keep, because that's what you're passionate about. That's what you're going to care the most about, and that's what you're going to take the best care of. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about the animal. So if you're getting an animal that you like, you're going to take way better care of it than getting an animal that you don't give a shit about. So that is my opinion on that. Also, because if you want to keep, we'll go into this other one. If you want to keep cobras, or you want to keep, whatever, you want to keep cobras, don't start out with vipers, because their temperaments are different. Their mannerisms are different. Their body language is different. Everything is different about them. They're the only thing that is the same about them is that they have venom and that they're snakes, but they're totally different. So if you want to keep cobras, get a cobra, right? But do your research first and know that if you get bit, you can die. So make sure you either have your own anti-venom, which I'm saying that, but most people don't. So but it's a good idea to try to get your own anti-venom, or make sure that the local hospitals to you, call them ahead of time and say, hey, listen, I keep exotic animals. This is an animal that I have. See if they keep it in stock, the anti-venom. See if they have contacts that have the anti-venom. Then, your next thing there before that is to go over and talk to Joe Pittman and get this thing here. Joe Pittman at the Florida Snakebite Institute. Go ahead and get this book and either get the whole thing, which is I think it's like $180 or something like that, where it has bite protocols for everything. North America, South America, Australia, vipers, literally everything. Anything that has anti-venom, it's in there. And he updates the list regularly. Or just buy whatever family. So if you want if you want cobras and you're getting an African cobra, you can buy the African cobra section of it, or you can buy the Asian cobra section of it, and then get your bite protocol and then have it on hand, and then you can start worrying about getting your enclosures set up and everything like that. But there is really no good starter venomous snake. There is not a good starter venomous snake. It's a very dangerous hobby. It's a very rewarding hobby / passion, whatever you want to call it. But it's very dangerous. If you're not careful, it can kill you. Just like shooting guns or whatever else, or racing cars, if you're not careful and you don't respect the animal, it will kill you. So that's kind of the caveat going into this, is you have to respect the animal. You have to respect what it can do to you. You see a lot of people just picking these things up and free-handling them on the internet. Well, I'm not going to talk bad about those people. A lot of those people have been friends of mine and acquaintances of mine. So I'm not going to go and say that, but I'm not going to say anything bad about them, because that's their life. It's their decisions. They do whatever they want to do. That's just their life. That's the beauty of living in a free world. But with that, a lot of newcomers see this and are like, oh, you can just pick these things up? I thought they were going to kill you. And so they think that they can also do that. And then you start to not respect the animal. So that's my biggest points of advice here for getting into keeping venomous snakes is, 1, get the species that you want to keep. Do your research. for at least a month beforehand. Probably longer than a month, but I'm just going to be realistic here. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you to research what you want to do for a year and then, get 2 years of experience before you even buy it. And I'm just not going to do that because nobody's going to do that. Nobody out there is actually going to do that. So do your research. Get the species you want because you're actually going to be interested in that species. You're going to be interested in keeping it. You're going to know stuff about it. And then respect the animal. Respect what it can do to you. And know that if your animal gets out, it can kill your family. If it bites you, it can kill you. They're dangerous. It's just like owning a gun. You need to have a lot of precautions in place. Just don't go out and buy a gun and, leave it on the front seat of your car while you're going and grocery shopping or whatever. Like, that's irresponsible. So that leads me into my next point here is common sense. Have common sense. I know that's a very easy term to say, but if you have some common sense, if you are aware of your surroundings and you can, this is probably the biggest point here, is if you can think for yourself, right? Like, you hear what somebody says and you're like, that doesn't sound right. You can think for yourself and realize whether they're being truthful or not. If you can think for yourself, if you can do your own research and you can make your own decisions along with some common sense, you're going to be absolutely fine. I've never ever once been mentored or been to a class on how to keep snakes or how to do all this. It's all been trial and error, research on Google, research on YouTube, and, just trial and error. You know what I mean? Like, but you got to have common sense. You have to be able to think for yourself, right? Like, for example, this here, the South American rattlesnake, Crotalus turicis. I've been working with this snake for a few months now, probably, almost a year now, actually. This snake is pretty jumpy whenever you're first getting it out of the enclosure. So, am I just going to open this up here and reach my hand in there and grab it? Fuck no. I'm going to use my tools, and I can read the snake's body language, right? If I'm trying to get the snake on a hook and trying to get it out into, the receptacle over here, so that way I can, do maintenance on its cage, and it's flailing its body everywhere, and it is showing me clear signs, hey, I do not want bothered today, then you know what? Instead of forcing it and like, it shed today. I absolutely have to get this shed out right now. Why not go work on the rest of your snake room and then come back a little bit later and see if maybe its temperament has calmed down, or, wait till the next day. The biggest thing with these is being able to tell its body language. If it's acting pissed off and acting like it doesn't want bothered and it's striking at you and it's flailing, like, they'll kind of tilt their body up in the air and flail themselves around, and they're just acting real crazy. If it's telling you that, then leave the animal alone. If you're trying to get it out to hook and tail it, which hook and tail is where you use a hook to put a hook underneath its body and then use your other hand to hold the tail, and that's one of the ways to, properly maneuver a venomous snake or handle a venomous snake. If you're trying to hook and tail it so you can get it out because you really want to get a picture of it for your Instagram or whatever, and it's flailing itself all over the place, don't. Just leave the animal alone. Respect it. What I said earlier, respect the animal. It's telling you, hey, don't fuck with me today. When you can come back the next day and the animal might be chill. Or you might have a snake that's completely psychopathic all the time, and then there's going to be times where you have to take those risks. And that's what I was saying a little bit earlier, is you have to respect these animals and know that they can kill you. Some snakes, every single snake has its own personality. Some snakes are super chill. Like this one here, this cane brake, I could take this cane brake out with my hand and it's not going to bite me. I've never done that, and I'm not going to do that because I respect the animal. But I just, that snake doesn't, it's not going to. Right? It's not going to strike at me. That doesn't mean that I take liberties with that snake that I shouldn't. I'm still very respectful of that snake. I use the proper tools. But if the snake is showing you signs that it doesn't want to be messed with, then don't mess with it. Come back the next day. That picture can wait. That's a big point of advice for me. Yeah, get what you want. But you guys, you have to realize that these animals can kill you. I'm going to keep saying that because it's true. Not everything will. Like a lot of people get bit by snakes and don't die. There was a very recent incident where a guy was picking up a taipan, the most venomous snake on the planet, drop for drop, toxicity wise, and he's still alive. Then there's what happened with Dingo recently. He has some allergies as far as I'm aware to some snake venom. He got bit by a green mamba and he passed away. I know some people who have been bitten by a green mamba just doing normal cage maintenance, taking it out with a hook, trying to, get it into a receptacle, and then the animal decided not today, and it flipped over and it bit him and he's alive. So while one person gets bit by the same species and dies, the other person can live. So to my knowledge, I do think there are people who have died from copperhead bites. I don't know if there's really been any adults that have. Timber rattlesnakes have killed people in the United States. Back in 2019, a 39-year-old man was hiking. He got bit. He died. It's not very common, but it can happen. So just know that you got to respect animal. It can kill you. You can also get shot by a gun and live. So you can get bit by a snake and live, but ideally you don't want to do that, right? I'm kind of starting to ramble here a little bit, so we're just going to get back on track. As far as respecting animals and stuff, you just have to. There's no question. There's no secret formula to how to get a snake to calm down because it's a wild animal. If it doesn't want to be calm, it's not going to be calm. If it wants to be calm, it's going to be calm. Now we'll get into a little bit of, now that I kind of told you guys, hey, if you're going to get into it, get the species that you want. Don't buy a species just because it's the flavor of the month. Cough, cough, king cobras, or whatever. Don't just buy it because you see all these YouTubers on YouTube or Instagram with all these followers having one and you're like, oh, I want it because of that. Get the snake because you love it. Get the animal because you love it, not just snakes. Respect it. Get the species that you want to work with so that way you're more invested into that animal and its care and its requirements and respecting it and all of that. Have common sense. If the snake's showing you it doesn't want to be messed with, don't mess with it. If the snake's about to shed, you should know by having common sense that its eyes are clouded over, it's blue, it can't see, it's on a heightened defensive. It's a heightened defensive right now because it can't see, so it's kind of skittish. They stress out easily. Don't mess with it, right? Leave it alone. Things like that. If you walk in the room and the animal, is, they don't have eyelids or anything, but if they're sleeping, they're not moving. You walk past the cage and all of a sudden it gets startled and starts rattling and freaking out. Respect it. Don't go in there and mess with it. Give it time to relax and calm down. It's just like anything. If you have some common sense, you take your time, you're careful, you can think for yourself and make your own informed decisions, you're going to be fine. So that's kind of my whole spiel on what's a good venomous snake to start with or how to do it. It's as easy as that. There's going to be people probably that don't agree with that. You shouldn't, if you want to work with a black mamba, you shouldn't get a black mamba. I agree and I disagree. I agree that for the reason they're saying is because it's a very dangerous animal. They can be unpredictable. If you get bit, you're less likely to survive than if a copperhead were to bite you. However, you can die from a copperhead bite too. And if you're allergic to the venom, you're not going to know unless you get bit. So in theory, if you're buying a copperhead, you should treat it like a black mamba. If you're buying a black mamba, you should treat it like a black mamba. You should treat every single snake that you get like it's the most deadliest thing on the planet. So if you want to keep black mambas, first of all, I don't recommend that for beginners. There's just some snakes that are not really good for beginners, especially as large adults. You can probably work with a baby fairly easily. So if that's black mambas is the only snake that you want to keep and that's what you love, then work on getting a black mamba. But know that the amount of research and preparation you need to take before getting a black mamba is going to be substantially more than if you want to keep copperheads. With everything, if you want to keep super, super deadly stuff, super, super toxic stuff, you're going to need to do a lot more research and a lot more talking to people and stuff before you do that. Don't just say, oh, I want a black mamba. Sean said, get the species you want. I'm just going to go out and buy a black mamba and then figure it out along the way. I don't recommend doing that. Feel free to. It's a free country. Do whatever you want to do. It's your life. Don't recommend that. At least do a significant amount of research first. Anyways, all right, now we're going to get into kind of some nuancey things here. Some tools that you need, right? Bite protocols. You need to have these. I didn't have them for a really long time. And, luckily I never got bit, so that's great. But you need them. Just because the truth of the matter is, a lot of doctors don't have the training to treat exotic snake bites. A lot of doctors don't even have the training to treat, a lot of other venomous sort of bites. They, want to give you Benadryl, this, that, and the other. These bite protocols have toxicologists listed on there, contacts listed on there, professionals listed on there, and it kind of gives them a guideline of what to do, what to look for, signs and symptoms, effective anti-venoms, and, just a whole bunch of information that, medical professionals need. So you need that, right? Definitely. Then I suggest getting yourself some sort of way to monitor temperatures, whether that be a digital one there, or if you come over here, you get a heat gun. You can point it at the spot, because you need to be able to know what temperatures are going on in your enclosures. If your snake, let's say for example, is a Crebo, and you're keeping it like you would keep one of your reticulated pythons, you're keeping it with, at 85 degrees and a 90 degree hotspot, that snake's not going to live very long at all. You're going to kill it really fast. Because, for instance, Crebos don't like it over 80 degrees. They prefer it in the 75 to, 79 degree range. They don't like high heat. They don't like heat at all. So that's just one example. You need to know your species. You need to have be able to provide the correct temperatures, and then have a gauge also for humidity. If you have super humid species like Brazilian rainbow boas, you need to be able to know what the humidity is, because they require a lot higher humidity than anything in this room. Then that is going to lead me over here to tools. The first tool is, especially with large constrictors or large colubrids or venomous snakes, is you need a pair of these, I forget exactly what they're called, forceps or whatever they're called. You grab your prey item, you can feed an animal at a distance without risking getting bit. If there's something in the enclosure that you need to grab real quick, you can use this to grab it. You can use it to grab a lid to pull off of something, just long tongs of some sort. And then you need hooks, multiple hooks. If you're starting out with a baby snake, you know, you really only kind of need one of these smaller Venom Life hooks. You know, don't buy it from anyone else but Venom Life. Just kidding. I just really like Venom Life. Feel free to sponsor me, Brent. But I've met these guys in person. They make really high quality stuff. It's really lightweight. But this hook is what you use to then open the enclosure and scoop underneath the snake to kind of pull it out. It is an extension of your arm, and it helps you keep their head away from your hands. If you have a baby snake, you really only need this to start out with, right? Most baby snakes don't even get to a decent size for, you know, a couple years. But, you know, if you're getting an adult snake or a medium-sized snake, then maybe a medium-sized hook. Or like a fat-bodied animal, you need something a little thicker. And, you know, then you need... If you might need something a little longer if you've got some big vipers and stuff. You know, there's many hooks out there. There's a lot of companies that make them. Most of mine, Venom Life. A friend of mine made this one here. But just have a big variety of hooks. Then you just need a lot of variety of hooks, right? Then if you have smaller snakes, you know, a pair of these long tweezers is nice to be able to do the same thing that the big ones can do. That's another piece of gear that you're going to need. Scissors are always nice to have. Clorox wipes, disinfecting wipes. Hand sanitizer, because you don't want to transfer anything from the snake or to the snake. Then down here, you know, I have this chlorhexidine solution. This is a chlorhexidine cleaning solution, which is this right here. It's a veterinary disinfectant. It's, you know, safe for animals. I have this as well. This is something that I use as part of my preventative mite treatment. You put a drop of that in a bunch of water, soak the snake for a little bit. If they ingest it, it's fine, you know, because it's only one drop. It's diluted. It's labeled as safe. This here is bleach water with bleach diluted. And then you're going to need gloves. So I have these gloves here, and then I also keep latex gloves, because you don't want to be picking up poop or other nasty shit with your bare hands and possibly getting some sort of a disease. So yeah, that's another tool. Let's see, what else have we got in here? Another tool that I have that not everybody has, but you probably need some form of spraying device, whether that be a hand pump sprayer or one of these nice battery operated ones. If you have a snake that needs to be sprayed down, or you have a bioactive enclosure or something like that, having a way to quickly add moisture to an enclosure from a distance is a good thing. Then if you're keeping venomous snakes, you need some form of container, like this, or like these brute trash cans. However, I'm leaning away from these now. I'm leaning more towards these clear 27-gallon totes here, because you can clearly see the animal inside there. You know where it's at. You know where its head's at. It makes it a little easier when removing this to get the snake in and out. But you need this because if you're going to clean an animal's enclosure, you never, ever, ever clean it with the animal inside of it. It's very dangerous. It's a very quick, easy way to get bit. A lot of people do it. A lot of people get complacent with it. I'm guilty of it. You know, if like the snake's here and there's like a poop right here, just reach in real quick and grab it. That is a terrible, terrible, terrible habit to get into. So get yourself one of these here. Put the snake, use your tool, open the enclosure. But, you know, take your hook, use the hook to open the door so that you stay away. Because sometimes when you open the doors, the snakes will just come flying out. Use your hook to open the door. Get the snake out. Put the snake in here. Close it up. You know, move it. And then you can either take the doors off or open it up and do whatever maintenance you need to do, whether that be cleaning water bowls, cleaning up poop, getting shed, rearranging the enclosure, whatever you need to do. Take the animal out and put it into a receptacle. That's the safest way to do it. You can, I mean, if you get to know your snakes, there's a point where you're probably going to be able to just do it with them in there. Like over here, I got these There's two eastern diamondbacks curled up over here, and for instance, this one took a poop last night right here that I'm going to get to. I could literally reach in right now and grab it. There is no way they're getting across that in time to bite me. However, that's not recommended. Take them out. Do it the right way every single time, and then it becomes habit, and you are so much less likely to get bit if you just do things out of habit the proper way every single time. Complacency kills. That is something that was taught to me in the military. I know they teach it with police forces and stuff like that, but complacency kills. The second that you stop respecting that animal and you start being complacent with it and you start, taking shortcuts and stuff, that's when you're going to get bit, and then that could be the end of your life just because you wanted to rush and do something real quick. So yeah, I don't recommend that. All right, now, as far as temperatures go and stuff like that, I'm going to tell you what I do. This is not the only way to do it. This is just my way of doing it. Little backstory. When I first started keeping snakes, we would always use a 10-gallon enclosure with a heat lamp on top of it. That was like, that you bought at Petco or PetSmart. That was like just how you did it, right? Like that's all we knew. Then I kind of transitioned over to radiant heat panels. I used the Vivarium Electronics heat panels, and you put a heat. Basically, what you do is, if this is your enclosure, you put a heat panel over here on the hot side, and you run a temperature probe down here, and you hook it to a thermostat. So once the ground gets to a certain temperature, the thermostat will cut it off. So that means you maintain a certain amount of heat on this side, and then they have a cool side, and they can just choose to do that. And that's what I did for a long time. However, what I noticed was even with my African species, even with my reticulated pythons that I had at the time, even with a lot of like the African Bitis species that they like high heat, puff adders, for example. What I noticed is with the radiant heat panels, the heat would be over here, the temperature would be perfect, right? 87 degrees, boom, or 85 degrees, whatever it was. They were each enclosure was set to its own temperature based off of the needs of the animal. What I found was 99.9% of the time, they were always on the cool side, every single time. I would have humidity issues. They wouldn't shed in one piece. Their sheds would be broken up. Sometimes they would just go on hunger strikes, and I had some animals just die for no reason, seemingly no reason anyways. Now, I'm not blaming that on the heat panels. However, what I noticed was everybody stayed on the cool side. So then, my friend in high school, Tyler, I remember when he was keeping his stuff when we were younger, he had one room in his house that he had all these enclosures in, and he just heated it. He kept it pretty warm in there, and he never had snakes dying. Everything was good. And then, other friends of mine have done that. Other people I know have done that. And so then I kind of transitioned to that in like 2020-ish. Started just getting a couple space heaters, putting in the room, removed all the heat panels, and I kept the room. Well, right now we're in winter temp, so I have it lowered to 77 right now. However, in the summertime, like in the summer months, spring and summer months, I keep it at 82. And then basically everything is about 2 degrees cooler during the day. And then at nighttime in the summer, these cut off, and it allows for a natural, in the evening, like whenever the sun's going down, like 7 p.m., these cut off, they cut back on at 5 in the morning, and it allows for a natural temperature drop. And I don't need to do that now because of the winter. With it being cold, really cold outside, it gets down to like 74 at night in here. Anyways, I switched over to that in like 2020, started using the space heaters and all that. And then what I found was I didn't have shed issues anymore. Nobody was missing meals. Snakes were eating more. I didn't have any random mysterious deaths, and everything just is growing good. They eat good. They use the bathroom good. I've had snakes breeding, like this batwing breeding. So that's what I switched to. I switched to ambient heat. So what I do basically is I have a space heater here. This is wintertime setup, by the way. I have a space heater here, and then I have another one right here. In the summertime, this one is not here. This one's gone because this is a sunroom. You can't really see right now, but there's three windows behind here. A window here, window here, window here. 3 windows right here. Windows here, windows here. In the summertime, this room does not hardly ever need heated for it to stay in the low 80s inside. So anyways, this is winter setup. You see it just cut off. It hit the correct temperature. I have this one and then this one here. And then what I do is I have this little air purifier over here to keep the air nice and clean in here. And yeah, that's it. And then I have these thermal curtains hung. And then there's a door, there's like a sliding door behind this. And then the thermal curtains. And it keeps any heat from escaping into the rest of the house. And that's how I do it. And ever since doing that, I don't have issues in here. I got the fish tank and all these plants. And all of these mostly have like a mesh screen top. I don't know if you can see it. And it's like a mesh screen top. So when I spray and all that, the humidity kind of just stays. Even in the wintertime here, I mean, it's 49 right now. It was 51 just a little bit ago. It stays, it stays right around 50% even in the wintertime, which if you're from the Northeast, if you're from anywhere on the East Coast in the Northeast, wintertime humidity just goes away. So in the summertime, it stays like around 70% humidity in here. And so it's kind of just this like natural little highs and lows of temps, highs and lows of humidities. And it kind of follows the seasons of the Northeast. And it just, my snakes like it. It works. So then I was doing some research and I found out that a lot of reticulated python keepers and a lot of just keepers in general are shying away from using really, really hot spots. That a lot of people are starting to keep ambient temps, and it's just having the air warmer. It's showing better results with the snakes. They're living longer. They're having better sheds, this, that, and the other. So I'm not going to really get into a debate about that of whether using hot spots or not hot spots is a good thing. I use ambient. That's what works for me. That's kind of what I said earlier in the video is you do what works for you. Now, not everything is just perfectly ambient. The Gaboon Viper down here, he's over here. Under the leaves, you can hardly see him right there. He's back there. This whole side right here, there's a heat pad underneath this. This here is nice and warm dirt. He never is over. I've never once seen him here. I've had him for 3 months now. He's never been here. He stays over here on the cool side every single time. So I'm probably gonna remove that heat pad. Now this guy here, the puff adder, that's the cool side. And then over here, there's a heat pad underneath the tank. And he will come over here at night. He'll be laying over here getting warm. So some of the species that require higher temperatures and aren't from the United States, I do have some heat pads with them. But that's kind of just situational. Most of the room is just ambient. And that's kind of, I think, I'm not really sure what else there is to talk about. That's kind of it, I think. We talked about, I guess I can talk about feeding real quick too. So I don't feed everything on the same day every single week. I kind of just gauge it. Sometimes it's every 5 days. Sometimes it's every 7 days. Sometimes it's every 10 days. My boa down here is getting about to the 5 foot mark. And so I feed her every 2 to 3 weeks. The Crebos, they're on their whole own schedule. They get a whole mix of food between rodents, chicks, quail, fish, shrimp. They just kind of eat a whole mix of everything. And then everybody else, I need to actually get down here because this timber does not want this mouse. And the only reason this mouse is still in here is because I've been in here with it That's just another real quick tip. Don't ever put a live mouse in an enclosure with an animal and then just leave and not pay attention to it, because mice and rats, more rats than mice. Rats can kill a snake and then start eating it. Like they're kind of crazy. So that mouse is going to probably get fed to somebody else because this timber isn't hungry. And that's something I found with the North American snakes, is that here in the winter months, they really, really slow down on what they want to eat, because in the wild, they would be brumating. I don't do that. I just allow everything for the natural drops. It's just how I do it. So that's how I feed. I kind of went over how I keep my temperatures, how I keep the air in here. In the summertime, this fan is running constantly up here to provide a lot of airflow. I went over some handling. We went over some tips and tricks. I think that's about it, guys. If there's anything that I missed or anything that you'd like for me to cover in the future, please go ahead and drop it down in the comments below. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And please consider subscribing to my Instagram, which is @thedeathdaddy_. All right, everyone, thank you for sticking around. I know that video was kind of long. I kind of just rambled off about a lot of random stuff as far as keeping and husbandry and stuff like that. If you liked the video, please like it, share it. If you didn't like it, let me know. If you think that I'm completely wrong about everything and you think I'm an idiot, please also let me know. If you have any tips or tricks, let me know. I'm always open to learn new things. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below. And until next time,